Welcome to Here to Be Human, a multi-dimensional soul. This is not just a podcast, it's a remembering. A space where soul meets skin and the sacred meets the messy. Where spirit is not something you escape into, it's something you embody, here in this beautiful, chaotic, breathtaking human life. Each episode is a living transmission, a weaving of energy, truth, reflection, and remembrance, with questions for your soul, messages from beyond, and invitations to meet yourself in ways you've never dared to before. Whether you're walking through shadow or starlight, you belong here. I am Julie, your guide, your mirror, your voice in the void. This is Here to Be Human, and you are right on time. This season, we've burned, softened, remembered, let go, reclaimed. We've walked through fire, we've come back to the body, and now we come home to integration. This is Here to Be Human, a multidimensional soul. Season 2, episode 12, closing the loop, integration, embodiment, and the next evolution. So before we begin, here is your reflection prompt. Which parts of you were activated this season? Which truths landed in your body, not just in your mind? And just pause for a moment and let yourself just sit in that stillness. Or feel free to write this down and come back to it at a later stage where you can write out your thoughts, your feelings. So which parts of you were activated this season? Which truths landed in your body, not just your mind? So as we begin our first segment, integration isn't a destination. You are not meant to finish healing. You are meant to live it. Integration doesn't mean the spiral stops. It means you now know how to walk it with breath, with tools, and with awareness. Integration is the quiet art of returning to your truth, to your body, and your humanity, and doing this again and again, not perfectly, but being present along the way. Now, your personal story prompt, so you can come back and revisit this and keep asking yourself this question every, say, 6 months or yearly. From your experience, where have you had moments where you thought that you were done with something until life invited you back into it with more softness and awareness? So from your own experience, where have you had moments where you thought you were done with something until life invited you back into it with more softness and awareness? And while you're sitting with that, either you've paused and you're going through what I've just asked, or you're going to carry on and channel with me here as we connect with the universe, with the divine. This is our channeling prompt for the universe. What does true spiritual integration mean for us at this stage of evolution? So if you are someone who channels, gets instant messages or psychic connections, sit with this question that I'm going to channel. Again, you can pause it here so you don't hear what I have to say, but you can hear what I have to say after you've received your own download. So what does true spiritual integration mean for us at this stage of evolution? What does spiritual integration mean for us at this stage of evolution? It means that you simply have crossed a threshold, that you now see healing as a way of living, a way of being, moving away from identifying that there's something wrong with you. You start moving into wholeness. You move away from feeling like things need to be fixed when really they're just needing to be integrated through our thoughts, our feelings, our physical sensations, and also aligning with what the universe is trying to get you to see about your journey, about your past, and about where you're going, but also where you are presently. That is what true spiritual integration is when we reach this stage of our evolution. And what I mean by that is once you do realize that healing is an ongoing journey, like we mentioned in one of the episodes previously, that healing is happening all the time. It's around you all the time. Something is allowing you to release, something is allowing you to see things for what they really are. It could be someone just sharing a story of theirs that then resonates with you and gives you almost like your own aha moment about your own experience. Or it could be that when you're speaking, someone else is hearing what you're saying. And even though they can hear the words coming out of your mouth, they're feeling like there's something behind it. And when they say, I feel like it's like this, it kind of gives you another layer of like, oh my God, it's right. Like, that is what it is. And so how I'm feeling makes perfect sense. So, but they're not validating your feeling. They're just helping you look at it from a different perspective. So it's not a negative thing. It's more of a positive thing with where you are at and what you're delving into. That is true spiritual integration when we're at this stage of evolution. So removing the fear of healing something. So because otherwise, the people that you normally hang out with or the people that surround you, if you're healed, then, you'll have to move away from them. This is kind of what this evolution is about. Once you integrate that really your story is your story, and it's just a story. And the story eventually no longer belongs to you, or you've let it go, that it doesn't affect you anymore. That's true spiritual integration, because what ends up happening is we're forever evolving all the time. There we have growth spurts, just the way young kids have growth spurts, like, when they're 6 months old, 12 months old. We're also going through our growth spurts based on what we're experiencing as an individual and what we're experiencing as a collective. And I feel like when we start to remove labels and we start to really allow ourselves to be whole in who we are in that present moment, then all of a sudden our identity is being able to be birthed again and again and again, because that growth and that evolution allows us to form into a more evolved human, meaning you have more awareness. And with that level of awareness, you begin to see a lot of the stuff that's going on within you, but also around you. And this is where it feels like when there's spiritual integration, you're more equipped to be of service. And to be of service doesn't have to mean that you have to be in a job that is of service. Like, you could be of service in a coffee shop when you overhear a story and, and you have a comment, and it makes the person feel validated, but also they get an aha moment. Like, that's you being of service. And I think we need to remember that that's one of the things that we did come here to experience and to do. It just looks different for everyone. So that's really important for you to kind of remember that, if you buy someone dinner, that's you being of service. Why? Because you want to do something kind for someone else, so they know how much you care about them. They know that you're looking out for them. Even though they may not need it, you're just showing your gratitude. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, your prompt here for you to reflect on is, what pattern or lesson keeps circling back, and what feels different about it this time? So what pattern or lesson for you keeps circling back, and what feels different about it this time? That's if you have, we should all have circles. Like we should all kind of have patterns and lessons that keep circling back. We just look at it differently. Our perspective has shifted. So whatever it is for you, that's kind of like the evolution. Because I remember someone saying to me like, once I've learned my lesson, is that it? And I was like, no, that's like a layer of a lesson. And then the universe, there'll be tests along the way. And so the more evolved you are, the deeper the lesson. And it's not about having a lesson to clear it. It's having like welcome the lessons, because the lessons are what is going to fast track your evolution. So don't block lessons. Don't like ignore them. The more you ignore them, the more you will suppress a lot of things and feel stuck. So allow the lessons to come and embrace them, because they are, as much as they can feel heavy in the moment, what you get afterwards is, I feel, is a level of enlightenment. That's just from my experience based on me and people close to me, as what I've seen them go through. So as we move on to segment 2, the embodiment of what you know. Now, you don't need more information. You need embodiment. And this is really important because I hear this all the time when people go, I went to this workshop, this healer, that psychic, this counselor, that naturopath, blah, 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 whatever. And it's just, they're just consuming more and more and more information. And most of the time, it's the same information said differently. And so either you're going to for forever try and get information, but what you need is to embody the information, embody your truth, embody what it is that you're working on. And embodiment can sound like rest before burnout, right? The truth before people pleasing, the pausing before you react, and the presence before you progress. Yeah, it's not about collecting more wisdom anymore. And I think we did live in a world where it was all about, oh, I'm going to go see the famous healer, or I'm going, like, just because someone says, oh, I had this amazing healing experience, and you just had one with like your regular person. Yes, you can go experience it, but it's just information gathering at that point. It's just data collecting. Yeah. But the more you focus on living it, right? Like you've got this information, you've been working on your journey, you're clearing things out, rather than consistently going and getting more information to kind of crowd your mind. If you live the wisdom, if you live the stuff that you know to be true to you, and remember not to keep pushing up against a brick wall, right? That's why we need to rest before burnout, because that's what it feels like. Yeah. And choosing your truth before having to please someone else. This is really, really important, because embodiment doesn't have to be loud. All it is you being consistent. It's about how your values sound when no one's watching. Yeah, embodiment isn't loud, it's consistent. And it's how your values sound when no one's watching. Interesting. So I feel like that's the key. Once you've done some healing work, you've integrated it, and now you embody it. Right? So I want you to kind of pop this in your journal, your personal journal prompt book. From your memory, where have you had a turning point where you stopped explaining what you knew and simply started living it? So from memory, where have you had a turning point where you stopped explaining what you knew and simply you started living it? And we've all been through this. There's always been a turning point somewhere in everyone's life. For some people, it happens earlier. For some people, it happens later. But rather than you saying, this is what I do all the time, or you explain, like, this is how you do that, and this is how you do that, da, 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 da. You're living it, and through your actions, through your lived experience, people can see it. People don't have to hear what you have to say. They can see that you have embodied who you truly are and are living your imperfect life, because nothing is perfect. So where have you stopped explaining what you knew and simply started living it? And if you haven't done that yet, if you're not at that point, maybe this prompt can be something that instigates you the beginning stages of, if you catch yourself explaining rather than embodying it, it might help you to get you to the point where you're like, oh, actually, you know what? Let me just take a step back, because this is what I'm doing, not what I know. Okay, so here is our channeling prompt to Spirit. What is the energetic power of embodiment, and why does it shift reality? So what is the energetic power of embodiment, and why does it shift reality? That energetic power, what it does is it allows, again, I keep using the terminology of like data collecting, like your soul is collecting data, right? From our lived experience, and energetically, it's feeding that back into the universe, right? So when there's a level of embodiment in something that you have healed or something that you're working on, that kind of allows the universe to go, oh, okay, you're ready for the next thing, like I was saying earlier on about lessons. And so it shifts your reality in a way that all of a sudden things start to flow to you, or things that you wanted to manifest or you've been thinking of manifesting for a while, they start to come through. So it's almost very similar to, people talk about divine timing, where like we have our physical timing here on earth going, I want it to be like this. But divine timing happens when certain lessons have evolved within you. You've integrated them, and now you're embodying the new version of you from what you have learned, from what you have let go of, and from what your new perspective is. And thus your reality is changing before your eyes, because the moment your perspective shifts, you're living your new truth. It's like what you're wanting to manifest comes a lot more easier. What you're wanting to manifest will change with what you're trying to manifest, a couple of years ago. So it gives you almost like a new way and a new timeline. So when people talk about like, timeline jumping and things like that, it's really what's happening is because obviously us as humans like linear time, but in the universe it doesn't work that way. The moment something shifts within you, think of it this way. So you've embodied it, the data sends it out to the universe. The universe goes, clap, 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 clap. You did really great. Awesome. And then it's like your timeline goes, it shifts, which is what people say, like you jump. So in other words, you've evolved, and the level of growth you've evolved to in human time is like, oh, well, really, like if you just stayed on the path and didn't embody, you probably would have been in the old version of you for at least another 6 months or 12 months. And all you've done is you have realized that I need to integrate and embody what I'm learning. And by doing that, it's like the universe rewards you with bringing things to you quicker. That's that shift in reality that happens. That's why people talk about like timeline jumping, so to speak. It's because you have learnt, integrated, embodied, and your perspective has shifted. And so the universe starts to bring you the things that you, not the things necessarily that you want, because I think there's different things that we want, and there's different things in our purest of hearts that we desire from a true sense of what it is that we're requiring or needing and things of that nature. And I think that's what the universe brings you. It could be a relationship, it could be a new job, it could be a light bulb moment idea that could pay big down the track. There's a lot of things that I feel when the universe brings you something that you've wanted to manifest, when it's of your truest essence, there's always a level of longevity with it. When you're manifesting something always trust your gut instincts, because like we've all had experiences where we have wanted something for years and then it arrives, and if you don't, and you take it just because you're like, oh well, I've been really wanting this for a long time, but there's something within you to say, actually, I don't want that anymore. Trust that where possible, because I've had situations from a work perspective where I didn't trust my gut instinct and like the red flags and the screaming of spirit to be like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I was like, well, like, I've been wanting to manifest, this work experience, you know, for the last, 10 years, and now it arrived. And I was like, well, maybe I need to do it. And maybe it's just my fear. Well, everything's a lesson, right? I did it. It cost me money. I got nothing in return from a materialistic perspective. But when I sat with it, what I realized is I've experienced it. It wasn't the best experience, but I also realized that this isn't my story anymore. This isn't the thing that I want. And while this was happening in the background, I was building something else over here. And it made me realize that the things that I was building, not building with anybody else, but the things that I was building were bringing me more joy. And I felt more authentic in that than I did in the experience where I was working with someone else. So always trust what it is that you feel, especially if the universe brings you a manifestation that you've wanted for a long time, but you're no longer that same person. If you need to experience it just to see that it's not you, that's fine. I think for me, that's what happened for me. But I did invest a bit of financial money into it, which I lost. And so for me, it kind of left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, because I was just like, really, universe? Like, did I have to lose all of that just to realize, it's not, it wasn't for me? And maybe yes. Maybe yes, but I've definitely learned a lot of lessons in relation to that. And I'm hoping, if the universe is listening to me, that there aren't any more unnecessary financial losses that I need to learn. But that's pretty much how that energetic power, when you fully embody it, and how it shifts reality. So even though I learned a lesson from it, I think I really wasn't embodying the new version of me that was unfolding, and which is why I said yes to that opportunity. But if I had fully embodied the new version and I trusted who I was, and not allow someone to try and make it out that they were going to give me all this stuff, and that was in alignment with me, I probably could have seen it a little bit earlier. And there goes my puppy in the background. She's like, yes, that is so true, Mama Bear. So there you go. So moving right along, this is your reflection prompt. So what truth do you already know that your life is now asking you to embody? Which was exactly that experience that I had. So what truth do you already know that your life is now asking you to embody? So you can do that now. You can pause this episode and come back once you've done your prompt, or simply do it at a later stage. Now, our next segment, segment 3, this isn't the end, it's a return. So remember that you didn't complete a journey, you came home. You remembered that spirituality isn't about escaping humanness, it's about inhabiting it. You can be the most gifted, talented psychic medium in the world. At the core of it, you are still a human. And the universe knows more than you can ever know. And so if you're trying to escape your humanness and not inhabiting it, you're going to have more and more lessons come at you. But if you're open to make decisions, even though spirit is saying, "Oh, don't do it," it's okay. Like, you're a human. You're allowed to, make decisions that don't pay off, that make you frustrated, that make you angry, that feel like, why did this happen to me? That doesn't mean that you're not gifted. It doesn't mean that your intuition is off. It means that you missed a part of the journey where they asked you to embody something. They asked you to embody the new version of you. They asked you to embody the healing. They want you to feel it all, to love it all, and to stay present through every rise and fall. So even though I mentioned to you before about my story, as much as it was frustrating and it really did my head in, I was still human about it. I was still really pissed off. And I kept coming back to, well, this is where I didn't embody that. This is where I didn't listen to that. But I didn't kind of berate myself going, "Oh, why didn't I listen to it?" Blah, blah, blah. I was just like, yep, I see it. I understand it. I get it now. But I'm not going to torture myself over it. I'm not going to berate myself over it. I just keep saying, well, I'm human. I'm meant to learn all this stuff. Because how else can I then teach others who might be going through a similar situation, and maybe this story might help someone else not go after an old manifestation just because they may not be that version of themselves anymore and they don't want it. So the next evolution won't ask you to be perfect, never. It will ask you to practice, to live what you know, and to stay awake in your own aliveness. Now, here's your personal story prompt from your own experience. I want you to ask yourself, where have you had a moment where you realized evolution wasn't about becoming higher? It was about being more here. And that's what's really important. Because I hear a lot of the times from people who are quote unquote spiritual, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do this human thing. I just want to live in the spiritual world." Well, it's like, well, no, you came here, you made a choice to come into being human. And if you continue to bypass your humanness because you want to revel in the light of spirituality, that's just you escaping. And it's really important. And I find people who say a lot of those stuff, a lot of things are not going right for them in their human life. They're going right in when it comes to how they're connecting and the spiritual beings that they're talking to. But you can't live in that world. You have to live in this world. You can bridge the two worlds. So you're learning lessons, you're learning things from the spiritual world that you can bring into your human evolution. So you can help others, you can help yourself, you can kind of clear out past trauma, ancestral ties, all that type of stuff. But to bypass it in order to just live in this state of heightened spirituality or light, that's not what the universe has ever asked of any human being. They've always asked, be more present here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to help you while you are here. That's really important. So again, from your own experience, where have you had a moment where you realized that evolution wasn't about becoming higher? It was about being more here. So I'll let you do that in your own time. And we're going to move on to channeling spirit. So if you're channeling with me, the question to spirit is, how can we keep evolving without abandoning our humanity? How can we keep evolving without abandoning our humanity? One of the ways that we can keep evolving is to remember why we are evolving in the first place. Number one, we evolve because that is how we are, that's how we have been built as human beings. We evolve in order to send data back to the universe about how we're doing from a soul perspective, right? Because once we go, our soul goes, oh, that's everything that I learned. That's in my data bank. That's if I want to come back and be a human again, that's going to be there. And I'm going to have to like tap into that and, unravel the next version of me. So we've got the data coming into the soul. We've got the evolution of that's just how we have been programmed universally. So if we know those things, then we know not to abandon our humanity. However, the other key ingredient here is our evolution supports humanity. And so if you bypass being human, it does, like I said to you like before, it doesn't matter how spiritual or how talented you are, if you try and bypass being human, your evolution can't be integrated into your body as a human life force being here. Thus, there is very little impact to humanity. You may have an impact just on yourself and maybe a few other people, but when you live in that world, you tend not to want to be a part of this world. So you become very hermit-like. You don't use your gifts to like help others. It's all kind of an internalness, yeah? But if you keep evolving, what will end up happening is eventually your evolution is adding to humanity's evolution in order to be more balanced and harmonious. And it allows the people to rise in order to override the wrongs of hierarchy and social constructs that we are currently in this lifetime experiencing. You can see the downfall of all those constructs. You can see truths about people that once were idolized are now coming through, so we can see the truth of what was going on. And we're going to be experiencing that for quite some time. It isn't going anywhere. So the more that you allow yourself to evolve, the more you become part of humanity and the more that you support humanity. So try not to look at this whole being of service, supporting humanity from a spiritual perspective as some big elusive thing that's so far away. It's not necessarily about big things. It's the little things. It's the touch points that you have with the people that matter, and then they have touch points. All those things, all your evolution, your growth is in support of humanity. So don't ever think that your evolution is abandoning humanity. Okay? If you are allowing yourself to play small, to be small, to stay small, that's you abandoning humanity, because that's you not wanting to be a part of it. And so I think it's important, because when I'm rereading this question again, it's kind of like, how can we keep evolving without abandoning our humanity? And I think the more that you evolve, you never will abandon your humanity. You'll always add to it. You'll become more stronger. You'll be more connected to the collective. So here is your journal prompt. What does your next evolution look like? Not in achievement, but in embodiment. What does your next evolution look like? Not in achievement, but in embodiment. So I'm going to take you through our last integration ritual for this season, for this episode as well. It is called I Anchor It All Now. So I want you to stand barefoot if you can and just feel the earth beneath you. Even if you're in your kitchen on floorboards or on tiles, the earth is still beneath you, right? Unless you listen to this and you're in a park somewhere, then by all means, place your feet barefoot safely on the ground and just feel the earth beneath you. And let your spine lengthen and open up your palms. And to speak out loud or to yourself, I do not need to become someone else. I carry what I've learned in my bones. I live from presence, not performance. I integrate gently, fully, at my own pace. This is not the end. It is my embodied beginning. Now close your eyes and just let movement rise naturally. Whether a gentle sway, a stretch, or a breath happens, just let the body seal the lesson. And while you're in this space, ask yourself, what are you claiming as truth now? And what version of you is ready to rise next? So what are you claiming as truth now? And what version of you is ready to rise next? And remember that you are not here to float above life. You're here to walk through it. Soul intact, heart open, body grounded. Thank you for walking season 2 with me. This isn't an ending, it's a becoming. What's next is the bridge episode between season 2 and season 3. So the bridge episode will come after this in the following week. There will be a 2-week pause just to allow people to really integrate our lessons here. You can go back and listen to season 1, you can go back and listen to any of the episodes in season 2, or you can just take this moment and go back through your reflection prompts and allow yourself, if any kind of lessons or anything that's happened for you and for your evolution during, season 2 or even season 1, allow yourself to begin to integrate. So I'll be back after the bridge episode is done. 2 weeks after that, we'll be back. So I believe it's going to be at the beginning of May, just the way that all of this is landing. So I'm going to have a look now at the dates. I'm pretty sure that this episode is going to be coming on the 3rd of April. The bridge will be the 10th. And so the last 2, and there'll be 2 weeks off. And then, yes, I was right. The 1st of May. I will be back on the 1st of May. So you got this episode, a bridge, 2 weeks pause, 1st of May. We'll be back with season 3. So until we return, breathe deeper, speak clearer, root further, and live what you came here to live. Thank you for being here fully. If today's episode stirred something in you, if you have a follow-up question, a reflection you'd like to share, or a way this conversation aligned with where you are right now, I'd love to hear from you. And if there are specific questions you'd like me to ask Spirit in future episodes based on what's coming up for you, send me a direct message at here.to.be.human.podcast on the Instagram page. Remember, your voice, your questions, your presence, they're part of this journey too. And if you'd like to connect with me more deeply, you'll find everything, sessions, programs, and updates over at www.moderndayMedium.com.au or on my Instagram page, which is at modern.day.medium. This is your invitation. This is the return. And this is what it means to be human. So until next time, stay with yourself, stay with your soul, and keep choosing this sacred, messy, and miraculous life.